Hello, welcome to our Traxo Office Hours webinar series. This one entitled, What's Next for Travel Program Compliance? For those of you not too familiar with what we do at Traxo, the benefits can be summed up in 3 words: data, visibility, and control. Medium and large enterprises use us to eliminate their corporate travel blind spots, also known as booking leakage, by automatically aggregating all corporate travel activity, whether booked through their TMC, direct with suppliers, through an OTA site, or any other method in one place in real time. If you'd like to learn more about how we accomplish this and explore the benefits of being able to receive complete itinerary intelligence in real time from your business travelers, we'll provide an opportunity for you to connect with us at the end of this webinar. This Office Hours webinar is part of a series to help corporate travel managers down this path so they can turn their own travel programs into a strategic asset for their company. Bit of housekeeping before we begin. This webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to view it again if you enjoyed it or would like to share with someone you feel may be interested. To view the recording of this and past webinars, please visit resources.traxo.com. The Q&A feature is open, and this webinar is designed for audience participation throughout the platform. You have the ability to post your own questions or upvote questions you feel most relevant for the panelists, and I'll be sure to bring them up with the panelists either during or towards the end of the webinar. 2021 has many travel managers and buyers reviewing how they will run travel for their organization as a result of how travel has evolved from the COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, over the course of this year, as we have surveyed you, the audience, on what you would like to see in future webinars, interest in how others are running travel program compliance has been consistently at the top of the list. Some have decided to further invest in the traditional travel management and online booking tool model, having the benefits of centralized reporting and management, ensuring the application of corporate negotiated rates, the provision of corporate travel account management and agent expertise, and many other benefits. Others have decided to place the option of choice in how to book travel in the hands of their travelers, giving them the freedom to book directly with suppliers or through multiple methods they choose. Still, others are doing a hybrid of the two, keeping their travel management relationship while also providing the option of choice to their travelers. Many questions and considerations emerge when deciding where on the range your program lies. Though we have seen 2 things are clear. The decision on how to run compliance for booking within your program is not a one-size-fits-all, as each of your organization's cultures, demographics, and business processes vary greatly. Also, we found that as a result of the pandemic, and in response to a proper risk management and duty of care program, regardless of where your organization fits on this range, at every point in the range, one vital need is common: the ability to be able to have real-time insights to the data of where your travelers have been, are right now, and will be going in the future. We brought with us today 3 leaders in the corporate travel management space who each fit in different places on this range. Karen Bond is the Corporate Travel Program Manager for HNTB Corporation, an engineering and architecture firm with over 80 locations and 5,000 employees across the country. Over the last 15 years with HNTB, Karen has strategically implemented corporate travel policies, supplier relationships, online booking tools, and other creative technologies that enhance the overall traveler experience. She earned her GBTA Corporate Travel Expert designation in 2005 and Corporate Meeting Professional designation in 2009, and was recently named part of the top 40 women in travel for 2019. Welcome, Karen.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you. And Michelle Grant is the Canada-based Travel Administration Manager for Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers and has been with the company for nearly 30 years. Ritchie Brothers is a global asset management and disposition company offering customers end-to-end solutions for buying and selling used heavy equipment, trucks, and other assets through multiple on-site and online selling platforms. Michelle earned her bachelor's degree in tourism and travel services management from Kwantlen University College and is a GBTA certified corporate travel expert. Welcome, Michelle. And Suzanne Boyan joined ZS Associates in 2012 with 6 years experience in the hospitality industry. She earned a bachelor's degree in hospitality followed by a GTP travel certification. Her deep understanding of how airline and hotel suppliers operate within their respective provider spaces showcases the ideal background and combination of skill and knowledge for her role. In August of 2019, Suzanne was named the Business Travel News Travel Manager of the Year. Her accomplishments were recognized again 3 months later as one of BTN's 25 most influential people in travel. A full-length article has chronicled the design and management of her program, describing it as state-of-the-art and an industry disruptor. Welcome, Suzanne. I'm not sure if you guys are on mute or off mute, but thank you so much for joining us again today. Wanted to bring perspectives because each of you have a different way that you run your program. And so I'm very grateful to have you on here to describe how you run your program. And I want to turn the floor over to you. So let's start with Karen, if you don't mind. Give us some insights into how things have been going with HNTB, your travel program, what you've discovered this year and your plans moving forward.
Sure. So again, great to be here. And I can tell you that we are on the range of the traditional managed travel program. So we've got our managed travel management company, and then we also have our mandated online booking tool that we expect all of our travelers. We have over 1,200 on a good year, and so we are always telling them, to book on. Well, I can tell you, we do use Get There, and so we labeled it as Connect. So when I say Connect, you know what I'm talking about. But we explain to them that you need to book this on Connect. It's the mandatory booking. Of course, we've got Swab is for Southwest. So we do have that mandated piece of the puzzle. So what we like to do is go through our program, and because 2020 is just a down year, let's just say it what it is. I had a lot of time to look at my program and find where there was great things that were happening, and there was also maybe not so great things happening. We did go and have an actual. I haven't had my coffee yet, so you guys got to bear with me.
No problem.
A little humor in this one. But yeah, so we went ahead and really dove into our program, hired a consulting firm to really help us through that, and wanted to see what was happening within our program. We have a very mature program. It's a very traditional program, kind of all those little bits and pieces that you would figure. And so what we found was we do have good, bad, and the ugly part too. And the good was that, our people are good people. They want to be on, in policy and their compliance. So we have a high level of compliance as it comes to air bookings within the online booking tool, or OBT. But then we started looking at hotel and went, wow, it was an eye opener, because what we thought, you're going to get leakage regardless, but the amount of leakage that we were getting, and leakage, I'm not just talking from using partners within the program. This is going direct to our vendors, which, as anybody would know, duty of care just gets shot out the window, right? Because of not knowing. The not knowing is probably the scariest part. So it was one of those that we went, okay, well, let's take a step back and see from a hotel standpoint, what are we missing? And it's that 4-letter word that we all love, data, and so through that, I think we got some really good aha moments where, let's just say 2021, so we've got the good, we've got the bad. The ugly is just simply that we've got our work cut out for us in 2021, which is not a bad thing. My my CPD is going to look awesome because I pretty much wrote it based on all those great enhancements that we're going to put in 2021. One of those being, we're really looking at Traxo, to be honest, to grab that, to have that ability to find the reservations at, or the .coms, if you will. I'll let you obviously speak on that since it's your bread and butter, but we were really impressed with what Traxo could do for our personal issues with duty of care. I like to call it traveler acknowledgement. We need to acknowledge where our travelers are at any given time. This is a great dashboard to do it. So I think that our traditional is great, and I think it definitely works for many companies. But I'm also interested in hearing what Suzanne and what Michelle are doing, and how can we all benefit from that data and in different ways.
Thank you for sharing that, Karen. And one of the things we talked about when we had our pre-meeting is I might ask you a couple of questions on the fly, just for the spontaneity of things. So hope you're ready for this.
Let me have coffee.
The answer could be yes or no, but I'm curious. Did you do any on the hotel when you found out that you had a lot booking outside of the tool for the hotel, more than you expected? Did you do any analysis on the spend?
We did. And we can, so unfortunately there is, and I think that data in general is getting better through some of the companies, where you can upload your spend, you can upload your, OBT information and kind of get that synergies. But I don't think you ever get that true picture, because your spend is going to tell you one thing, your bookings will tell you another. But what your card information can't tell you is the number of room nights. And you have to, eFolio was a huge benefit when it started coming out in the early 2000s, because that allowed us to grab what is food and beverage, what is, sundry stores, what is taxes, and be able to break that down to see really where the room rate came in. And I think what we also realized through the guidance was we're not always getting our room rates, which is kind of a tough pill to swallow, where it's like, okay, so we are using our preferreds and we love them and we will continue to, support them. But if we're not getting our rates that we're supposed to, based on so many different factors, then that was a tough pill to swallow, but one that we hope that in 2021 we can address more proactively than reactively.
So even if your travelers are doing well and finding good rates, if they're booking outside, they may still not be getting the best because you have negotiated rates, and they may not be tagging onto those negotiated rates. So they might be finding, value rates, based on good behavior of a corporate traveler, but still might be missing out on some savings.
Right. And a lot of time, there are times that I've seen it where, they have to go, we'll say direct to the vendor if, and that's even through our own, we tell them if you can book online, book on our OBT, so that we at least have the, accountability factor going on for you. But there are times that our clients are the cities and the counties of, specific areas, and they want our monies to stay within their county. So they're saying you have to stay within our boundaries of the county to bring that money back to us. So of course we'll do whatever we need to satisfy our clients, just as our vendors do the same for us, right? So a lot of times that hotel might not be available in the OBT, we'll say. And so they have to go, to the .com site, or to the app, and they're going to go, hopefully, more than likely, they're going to pick where they have that loyalty built up, and they're going to get the best value benefits for themselves as well.
So to recap, you've always had a high adoption to your TMC OBT program. It wasn't quite as high as you had anticipated when you did the review, but what's important to you is being able to have insights into where everyone's booking, regardless of what the source is. Is that a pretty good summation?
That is it. Yeah.
All right.
That is it. And it's, we could always tackle air, but again, I'm very confident in my air program. And I, like I said, our travelers are good. They don't want to be out there going rogue and stuff. But again, if what's best for the client and what's best for them is really what's going to drive that hotel, because it is the most personable piece of a travel puzzle. It's where you're going to kick your feet up, put your head down, and so it's always been a very personable decision to the traveler and how they want to book it. So that's what I'm hoping, that in 2021, if we do implement Traxo, that maybe you can help us catch that, and just, again, traveler accountability and being able to assist our travelers when they're maybe not doing all the right things they're supposed to.
I can help you with that. Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
Easy answer. So
my number.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Karen. Thank you. Michelle, I know that you have taken advantage of this year in looking at your program, and you've been real intuitive and done a lot of analysis. Can you share with us, kind of what you've come up with?
Sure, but first I just want to say I feel you, Karen, and I don't know if you can read that, but that's how my day started.
Yes, Michelle, thank you. Cheers to you.
Yeah, and I'm not
We
saying
should
there's
have just
coffee,
opened with a slide with just that picture on it. Yeah.
right? Every day is that's my Monday morning mug.
Right.
Well, thanks for having me, Justin. Yeah, so starting, I mean, I think Karen, you said it. You knew you had leakage. I think we all are aware, became aware at some point within our own travel programs that we probably had leakage. And so, unlike most companies, I mean, we were aware that we had leakage. For many years. I've been with Ritchie Brothers for, it'll be 30 years next year, and I mean, technology has come so far today. So probably within the last, I'm going to say 10 years, technology has started to come around, and there's probably folks that jumped on this right at the beginning of this. I was never an early adopter, and I always, believed in the traditional managed travel program. And so back in 2016, I'm going to take you back a bit. We partnered with our TMC and we did an air leakage analysis. And I can't stand that word leakage, but that's what we use. And we compared our TMC data with our credit card data. And what we found in North America, that we discovered about 21% of our tickets were being booked outside of our travel program, which equated to about 13% of our travel spend, or $500,000, $550,000, what we discovered was going outside of our program. And what we found interesting in that was about 150,000 of that was actually going to preferred suppliers. So folks are going direct to our preferreds, yet we're not able to take advantage of our negotiated rates and additional benefits to contract. That's all changed today, which we'll get to, but that's one thing we discovered. The other thing that the data helped us discover was of about $200,000 was going to a supplier that we had no agreement with. So an airline, a very popular airline in the US, which of course, now that having that data, obviously we had some information we could go to that supplier with to perhaps negotiate an agreement with. So, that exercise, again, it was just within North America, and we're talking 2016. So what at the time we're like, well, wow, what are we going to do? How do we get these folks back in our program? Again, my mindset has changed a little bit today, but following that analysis, we started having discussions about the challenges of sort of this off-channel bookings presented, and that was capturing the data, utilizing unused tickets, the lost savings opportunities, which I mentioned, right? Going to direct, you're not taking advantage of any corporate discounts or suppliers, lack of tracking back to contracts. So, you're missing market share and goals that you're setting with your suppliers. And so, and the big one today, especially, is the ability to find our traveler and know where they are traveling to or where they're staying. So in a quick, efficient way. I mean, you could, I guess, spend some time to figure that out by going to different resources. But today it's super fast if you have the right technology in place to find your travelers. So instead of, turning the discussion into sort of reevaluating our travel program, we did what probably many corporates would do, and we just revised our travel policy. And we took out that stick and, tried to get people back in our program. When we took, we revised our policy, taking out words like, you should, we recommend, that kind of wording, and just reframed it and used words like must do this and must do that. And we thought that might fix things. And and we also sent out some communication about why we would like you and why we prefer you. Again, I just prefer. Why we want you booking within a managed travel program. So fast forward to 2019, recognizing we still had leakage, and all these new technologies have been coming around for a few years. We decided to do a pilot with Traxo, started in October 2019, and we did a 3-month pilot. And then in January, implemented Traxo filter globally. And then the world stopped. And obviously grateful we had implemented at that time. The timing was perfect. But so yes, having Traxo implemented at the right time gave us a more complete picture, obviously, of where our employees were, where they are coming from, and or where they were planning on traveling to. And so like most companies, we reduced our business travel to business critical. So having the off-channel data available to us through Traxo, along with our TMC data, that gave us more complete visibility into what we were booking, where we were, where we were coming from in real time. And it gave us an opportunity to address that travel at the time. Was it necessary? We did have business critical, and that travel is and was being approved. But just making sure people are traveling when and where they're supposed to be, and that they did have the approval to do that. But risk management aside, the opportunity and the availability of this data has really opened my eyes to a whole new world. I used to be afraid of data and numbers, and now I'm probably driving Matt crazy over at Traxo, just trying to
Matt is our
understand.
Chief Product Officer for the audience.
He's been amazing, and we've spent so many hours on the phone just digging, and I really wanting to understand the data and understanding that this data may include tax and that data may not, and just kind of getting right and ensuring we're comparing apples to apples, and really understanding the data, particularly if I'm going to use it in my program going forward. So, but besides air, it's capturing our car, hotel, picks up Uber, Lyft, an Airbnb. So it collects all that data, or captures all that data. So you really have a better understanding of your whole travel program, and the supplier usage, and where you are spending, where you're not spending, maybe where you should be spending. We did an exercise, Matt and I, and we were looking at hotel consolidation, for example. So, Traxo has the ability to, we'll just take Dallas, for example, where we had like something like over 100 hotels in Dallas in a year. There were certain clusters that were close to our office and our sites. We have a couple sites there, but then there was a spread of hotel within one city. So that data can help you consolidate or look at where you're spending, who you're spending with, and try and consolidate that and get that down, accessing better rates, perhaps putting more room nights into one hotel versus spreading it out among 100 hotels. So knowledge is power. Having this data can obviously assist with negotiations, renegotiations, consolidating your travel program, just to name a few ways to use that data. And again, combined with my TMC data and having the Traxo data, I feel super confident that we have a pretty good handle on our travel program.
Thank you for that, Michelle. So as a result of the data that you've received and the analysis that you've done, are you thinking of adjusting your program in any way for 2021?
So yes, I'm considering, and we have a couple meetings this week about this. I need to really understand the risk or challenge in a pilot of what we're considering a hybrid travel program. So it's going to start small, a handful, a dozen, maybe 2 dozen travelers. We're going to look at the folks that are already booking outside. So this isn't going to be a who wants to sign up for this. It's going to who's already doing this, and kind of creating a user group, having some discussion around, the why, the what, and then the challenges in that. And, it's got to be two-way feedback and conversation. They need to understand, which they're probably already aware of, is, when you're booking direct, you don't get the support of a TMC. So, are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable managing the challenges that may happen while you're on a trip?
Right.
So lots to talk about, but certainly, yes, seriously entertaining a pilot of a hybrid travel program.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate the knowledge and insights there. And I have a strong feeling that this is going to be very valuable for those listening that may have not taken that kind of a look at their program. So thank you.
If I had more time, I'd keep talking about this, but maybe we'll have time at the end.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I do want to lend some time for Suzanne. I know that, and for those of you that have not seen Suzanne's overview of her program, this is some good insight into what landed her as the travel manager of the year in 2019. I'm guessing some of you have seen this. Many of you may not have, so you're in for a treat, and I appreciate you. We're very grateful for you bringing this to us today, Suzanne. So I'll turn it over to you.
My pleasure. The gift today is truly Michelle coming and telling us that her program could potentially be going hybrid. So that is an early Christmas gift for me. I'm not alone anymore. So this is the presentation that I actually give to our travelers, and I modified it a bit to give it to travel managers and travel suppliers who might be on the call. So it starts with, why do we even manage a travel program? And I anticipate that actually many of our programs probably look similar, the reasons why we have a managed travel program, right? Except we might prioritize things a little bit differently. So for us, you'll notice at the top is the improved traveler experience. We do have a massive amount of travel spend. For us, I mean, we think it's massive. It's certainly not a Google travel spend, but for us, it's 64 million on a non-COVID year, so it's quite a bit of money. So we can really negotiate a strong user experience for our travelers in terms of priority boarding, better seating, all of the things that you guys go to the negotiation table with as well. There is one common thread here among all of these points, and I can't accomplish any of these program goals if I don't have the data, right? And so data is the core of my program. So Jack, if you don't mind going to the next slide. So you'll see here, this is what a traditional model looks like, and it will be very familiar, again, to all of our travel managers out there. So as you can see, when you bypass the middle portion, you tend not to get the data that you need to run an effective program. So Zeno, for those of you who don't know, that's an online booking tool. That's the booking tool that we're getting ready to implement. And Lux is our travel management company. The only other portion that you might not be familiar with is JetBridge down at the bottom there as part of a mid-office. That's our homegrown reporting tool. So that way, kind of consolidating all of our data feeds into one easy to digest reporting tool. So again, as you can see, first of all, there's money being exchanged along the process. And by the way, this is all the money that we pay for at the end of the day, right, as buyers and as our travelers pay for it. But if someone were to book outside of the program, historically, we wouldn't have any of this data. So next slide, please, Jack. Thankfully, Traxo came in to play. So in 2017, we implemented our Traxo filter, and we utilize Traxo in two different ways. So the first is we do have the filter on our email servers. So anytime someone sends a travel-related booking to their ZS Associates email, it does automatically get forwarded into the Traxo dashboard, which then forwards it on to the things that we need to accomplish our program goals. So International SOS for duty of care, JetBridge, our reporting tool, so that way my team can take a look at it and figure out if it's within policy, any of our, make sure that people have a better experience so they can be productive on the road. The second way Traxo works for us at CS is that we supply Traxo with our employees' Mileage Plus numbers, assuming that they've opted in, and it enables a direct booking option. So we have fully embraced omnichannel. And a lot of people get confused about what this means, right? How do you get your negotiated rates? How do you not see personal bookings? So the best way for me to explain it is to show you. So next slide, Jack. Oh, but first, some considerations. Of course, there's always an opportunity cost with no matter which program, which path you go down, right? And so we do have some considerations for our travelers to take into account. And the two biggest ones, yes, Michelle is right. You cannot call your TMC for help. Thankfully, that is changing. The TMCs have identified a way to capture that booking. It's going to come at an extreme cost, but that's not surprising, right? The economics are totally different when you're talking about booking direct. And also basic economy, advanced purchase rooms, those are available for purchase. And the airlines have not figured out a way to block them yet. So it's just about educating the travelers that normally you wouldn't be able to see them or normally you wouldn't be able to book them, but now you can. Okay, next slide, Jack. So this is what it looks like. So if you were to log on to your United.com today, you probably would not have that orange button down at the bottom that says business travel. Anyone in my program who has opted in does. So that business travel button is what actually enables our rates, our corporate negotiated benefits, and the ability to see the corporate bookings, but not the leisure bookings. So it also sends the data to Prism. So we don't send any of our personal data to Prism, the leisure data, but just the business travel. So that way we're fully transparent and honest within our industry and our negotiations. The best part, next slide, Jack, is it also works on mobile. So most of my travelers actually book their next trip while they're on their current trip. And so it doesn't matter if our TMC is open and the agents are answering the phone, they can just book it whenever, wherever they want. So it's as easy as clicking, corporate travel. And then next slide, we do allow hotels. So this is where one of those considerations said, make sure to load as much into your profile as possible. So you'll see that we have our rates available. One consideration to note is that with hotels, because there isn't a direct connect like there is with United that you saw, sending it to the DS email is what's important because that's what's going to capture it via the filter function. Next slide. And it's the same with cars. So we ask for our CDP number or our AWD number because Hertz and Avis are our two preferreds. Same thing, send it to your ZS email so that we have it for duty of care purposes. But as long as you followed the correct process, by all means, book direct if that's your preference. Next slide. All right, so the number one question I get is, but what about lowest logical fare, for those of you who don't know what LLF is? And so because we're a consulting firm and I believe in strong women, I used our consultant of choice here, Rosie Riveter. So please, next slide. So she is going to, from O'Hare, because we're a Chicago-based consulting firm, going to Boston and then coming back to O'Hare. So let's take a look at the two different channels that we can book on. Okay, so lowest logical fare would be any other airline other than United at $300 and United at $350, right? That's a round trip going to Boston. But you have to keep in mind that she, being a road warrior and living out of Chicago, where United has a very strong hold, now American does too, but let's go with United for this hypothetical scenario. She probably has status that gets her preferred seating. Okay, so the booking fee for booking on our booking tool is $8. And if we were to compare true apples to apples, she would get a better seat on United, but the seat costs us $80 on another airline. So the true value of going direct, if we're doing just hard dollar savings, right, is $38 in savings for us. And that's, that I think is pretty indicative right there, but there's there's a soft opportunity cost here as well. So next slide, Jack. And that's, well, our people are our product. And for us, being able to book that better seat and being able to work on that, I believe the flight is about 2 hours, that actually comes back to us tenfold, right? So it's about $100 of productivity. So, okay, we gave the $80 seat. So $100 that we can bill back to our clients, right? So we'll take that off the cost. So we were actually able to remove that cost from the airline ticket. But here's the kicker, which is the preferred airline. So Rosie Riveter has miles on United that she could utilize for her family to go on vacation or for herself to go on vacation if she doesn't have a family. She has many benefits, like, again, the seating, the potential for upgrades. Maybe she has club memberships that go along with that. So all of these things cause friction when we start talking about mandating lowest logical fare. So a preferred airline can actually cost or benefit somebody. And you can plug in whatever number you want here. For our travelers, it's probably quite high because we do have a very traveler-friendly program, if you will. And so for me to say, no, you can't fly on your preferred, we're going to force you onto this other one, it would probably be a pretty high cost of around $200. Now, again, for a different firm, it might be only like $50, right? Because you really want to push the cost savings. But I do think it's something that needs to be put in as a number as traveler friction. What are you willing to put a cost on the airline? So when the grand total comes out, I mean, now it's significantly more, right? So next slide, because that should be it.
Yeah,
that's it? All right,
I love
perfect.
the way you put the, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to round it out, but go ahead, Justin.
No, I was just going to say, I love the way you put the traveler experience in there, and that's not something. It's hard to put a dollar sign on that, you know. And I really feel for all of the travel managers and travel buyers out there that are trying to balance between corporate responsibility and traveler happiness, and that is a tricky road to pave. But you've really elaborated on that, Suzanne. Thank you for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
You know, and it's interesting. So Michelle, you said that you don't like the word leakage, and for those that aren't in corporate travel, I can certainly understand why. Obviously, it's a common term in corporate travel. I know that Suzanne, you mentioned we fully embraced omni-channel, which seems to be, at least in my experience, kind of a new buzzword for the last year or two. You know, and omni-channel has taken on a different connotation depending on who you ask or who brings it up. Some will say, you know, omni-channel is a traveler's ability to book through multiple sources wherever they choose. Others would say, well, you know, they might start the booking in one place and then, you know, continue in a different place. And then, but yet others might say something completely different. So I'm curious from the three of you. Let's start with Karen, and then Michelle, and then Suzanne. What does omni-channel mean to you? How would you define omni-channel?
You know, I think of Omni as one, and it's one standard place of booking, based just on how, you know, our traditional mindset is still set in. Is just making sure that everything goes through that one channel to ensure the most clarity, the best customer service. If you know, if agents aren't going to service or if they are going to service. So I think that's the omni-channel that I envision.
Interesting. Okay. All right, Michelle.
As it relates to travel, because I think it's an interesting word that's used in other industry, particularly like marketing. In travel, I would say what omni-channel means to me is the ability to buy in one place, but still have the ability to access that booking via other channels. So maybe I start the booking with, maybe I start my booking on an OBT, And then I contact the airline and make a change, and then I need to add a car, so I call the agency because I don't have time to do it myself. So to me, omni-channel is the ability to access the one P&R, the one itinerary via multiple channels. That's the opposite of omni, but that's
okay.
kind of my feeling.
So even if your travelers go through multiple sources, to be able to access all of that in one place.
Right.
Okay. Suzanne.
Do I win?
No winners, no losers here. We're all winners. We get participation awards on this one. Yeah. You answered the question, so yes, you win.
For me, it's the framework in which you allow people to book travel, right? So I think omni-channel can be many things to many different people. So at CS for us, it is we have a very specific framework that we've set up. You can either do traditional through the TMC, or you can do direct booking through preferred suppliers that Traxo has an integration with, and those are your options. And we figured out a way to ensure that we get the data we need to run an effective program. But what we need from our travelers is to buy into that multi-scenario. So they're not supposed to book outside of that. They're supposed to book within that. So that's what it is to me.
Sort of like a.
That's a hard question. We need Google to tell us what the true definition is.
It's sort of like,
Alexa.
what you're saying is almost like a controlled freedom.
Yeah.
Seems like a good way, I think, to sum it up. Maybe I feel like it's a good way because I'm the one that came up with it. I don't know. But, so I also want to encourage the audience to ask questions in the Q&A. We've got one question in there, and I'm going to ask the panelists one other question, and then we'll open it up to you, the audience, to ask whatever you would like to ask. So this whole webinar today is around program compliance and how do you manage that? Is it more open? Is it more tight? Is it somewhere in between? And each company has their own choice. But let's go down to the root of the word compliance, because I think different travel managers might even define compliance in a different way. And I'm curious from the three of you, same order, Karen, Michelle, Suzanne, and I guess we'll see who the winner is. How would you define compliance?
Can I phone a friend?
You could ask the audience, I guess. I mean, technically,
Yeah.
they
I think that would be interesting. You're right. It's different for everybody. And I would say that when I'm talking compliance, I'm talking about using the online booking tool to book your travel. I'm talking about those words on the page that are called the travel policy. And that is, I know that Captain Jack Sparrow once said they're more like, the rules are more like guidelines, and so I kind of go back to that going, well, they are guidelines. And I think that compliance is doing the right thing at the end of the day. Are you following what your company's expectations are? So, Michelle, I go back to you because we're a very friendly, preferred, recommend, strongly suggest company as well, until it comes down to the OBT. And then we're like, you've got a book on, we get really, muscle about that. We're totally kidding with that. But, that's our compliance, is just book it on the online booking tool. Then you can, book your dinner reservations or anywhere else, somewhere else, right? So I think that really making sure that they do what the firm expects them to do, which is those words on the paper called a travel policy, which we will be doing that as well, taking a pencil to it and upgrading it. But I think that's it, just doing what you're supposed to do.
Seems very similar to the word integrity.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. Yeah.
And seen. Okay.
Very good. We don't even need a retake on that. Cut.
Right. Okay, good.
Michelle.
I'd agree with Karen in that compliance is basically following or adhering to a predetermined set of rules, process. I like the word guideline that you set out within whatever program, in this instance, your travel program. But that said, there should be or needs to be a mutual understanding or some sort of reciprocity as to why are you wanting me to do this? What's the benefit? Why do we have these rules? So there has to be that mutual understanding, and then otherwise you won't have compliance. So I think it's what would you like to do? Here's why we can't allow that, but we can allow this, and come on, you know, it's a mutual understanding of a preset rule or process.
You know, that's an interesting point. You know, we live and breathe corporate travel. That's what we do. But our employees, when they go to book, it's almost a different experience. I know for me, you know, coming into corporate travel, when I initially came in, it's like I'm adopting all these processes. I'm learning all of these, you know, we acronym everything in corporate travel, right? But then when I go to take my first trip, I'm like, oh, wow, now I see what it's like on the other end. Why do I have to do this? Like, I don't like using this method, or I don't like using that method. Why do I have to do this? And so it helps when you give them a reason and it makes sense. They say, oh, okay, well, if that's the reason, then okay, I'll do that.
And then they challenge that. And that's where you need to talk about, okay, well, I get what you're saying. You see my side. Where can we kind of meet in the middle? And that's what's happening today with the technologies and what Sue's doing with her program, and what we're looking to maybe pilot is let's work together on this and make it a win-win.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I did win.
You win on that one. You are a winner in my book, Michelle. Suzanne.
Yeah, first shout out to Donna for giving us the omni-channel definition.
Yeah, I was gonna read that as soon as we're done. I mean, I'm glad
Thank you.
Missed that. But yeah, absolutely.
But then,
Awesome.
but my definition of compliance, I couldn't agree more with Michelle. I think it's a mutually agreed upon set of expectations, right? And the only way you're going to have compliance within your program is by being clear about why you have a program and what participation is needed from your travelers within it. Which is why, for me, the traveler experience is actually at the top of that list, right? Because that's what they care about the most. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not important to me. It's just I know that that's what's important to them. Ask them, how much spend do you think I have in a year? And you'll be surprised. Everyone thinks it's much, much lower. You always get one or two smartasses that think it's, $5 billion, but generally speaking, it's not. And so, compliance is getting the buy-in into your program, because if you don't make the effort to get the buy-in, you're not going to have a program.
It's just like what they say with your career. If you enjoy what you do, you're never going to work a day in your life. And if you have happy travelers, they're going to comply just by nature because they enjoy it. It's a very, very good point. All right, so let's start. We've got some questions piling in for you guys, and I'm very excited about that. Let's start with the definition, the Wikipedia definition that Donna looked up for us. So
I'm just reading.
Thank you, Donna. Shout out to Donna McGovern. She puts in the chat Wikipedia definition: omnichannel is a cross-channel content strategy that organizations use to improve their user experience and drive better relationships with their audience across points of contact. Rather than working in parallel, communication channels and their supporting resources are designed and orchestrated to cooperate. So I think that is a fantastic definition.
Donna won.
Let's get to the Q&A. We've actually got quite a lot of Q&A. This might be our highest Q&A that we've had, in our webinars. So it's good feedback from you guys in the audience that we picked a good topic here. So
Justin, before you start, I don't know how many you have and if we'll get to them all, but maybe we could, if we don't get to them all, I'd be happy to, and I think all the panelists might be happy to have a look at those and respond.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. We will find a way to get that to you, the audience, if we don't get to all of your questions. So Lisa has asked, and I think this might be for you, Michelle, when you were talking about analyzing the hotel data. She said, what are your thoughts about using this data for hotel reconciliation purposes?
For hotel reconciliation. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand the question. So reconciliation.
Yeah, and I'm not sure either. Lisa, if you want to type in the chat, for potentially the what you mean by reconciliation there, because that could be taken in a couple of different ways. So we'll come back to that. Let's see what else we have here. This is an interesting question. For all 3 travel managers, how are you ensuring your travelers are actually sending all of their outside bookings into Traxo? I know the answer to that question, but I'll let you guys answer.
Well, I'll let Suze. I don't. Traxo captures the travel data, so I don't require anyone to forward me itineraries. But I know Suze mentioned in hers, so that's. I'll let her talk to that.
Sure. So I think you hit the nail on the head, Michelle. We don't actually require our travelers to send it into Traxo. We require them to send it into their ZS email, and then Traxo captures it from there, right? So we ZS have programmed rules on our email server that recognize the travel-related bookings that Traxo has given to us. I mean, the rules that Traxo gave us. So it says like at hertz.com or at marriott.com. So the second I book at Marriott, it forwards it on into Traxo's database, as long as I've sent it to my ZS email. So that's what we tell our travelers to do. Make sure to send your confirmations to your ZS email.
So I have a question or a follow-up to that, because if you're using your corporate email, that is what tracks the booking. So there is no manual action, right, that happens. So I'm not sure, Suze, when you say you send it to your email address, as long as you're using your corporate email address, it will get captured. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, point of clarification there. So
right.
As long as the corporate email address is used within the profile, if they book direct with the supplier or wherever they're booking, they're using the corporate email address for that confirmation email. And this was Lori Tunkel that asked that question. So Lori, with the Traxo filter product, there is no need for a traveler to opt in or forward any information. It's done automatically. We could talk further about that if you'd like to connect with your local rep to talk through that. So in the chat, John Packle has asked, for all 3 of you, he says, my question is what the panelists see as the biggest obstacle to booking direct with hotels. Don't everybody answer at once. What do you think is the biggest obstacle booking direct with hotels, or booking outside of your online booking tool? Or
yeah, I'll start if that's okay. So my biggest obstacle right now is that the hotels don't recognize it as no obstacle is good. Yeah. Yeah, generally there is no obstacle, but I will say that the hotels don't recognize it as a business booking, and so. Look, I don't find loads of value in having a corporate preferred hotel program because we tend to utilize our clients' rates anyway when we book, and so we already book direct. Now, there are many travel managers who might feel differently. So I could see the obstacle being that the hotels are very particular about what they will negotiate, the data in which they will negotiate with you on. And so when I've tried to take booking data from Traxo or from our corporate card, they say, no, we go based off of, what has your corporate rate in it. Now, maybe that's just my hotel reps, but that is the one obstacle that I've seen.
Yeah, Suzanne, I was going to say, I could say exactly what you said in different words, and it mean the same thing, basically. It's, we don't get our corporate rates necessarily for going on the .com unless we know the CDP number. And then, you're literally trying to communicate that to travelers while you're trying to keep them, compliant and booking on your internal online booking tool. So you're almost shooting yourself in the foot. And then reps will come back and say, well, we only go off of our reports. Well, if you're booking the membership rate on the .com, we're not going to see it. And so I think that with Traxo helps that though, right? Because you can then see, I mean, I'm asking you, Justin, actually, if that helps us then, right?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase? What is it that you're asking me?
So like, okay, so if somebody's out there going on .com and they're not getting the HNTB rate, then when it goes through the HNTB.com and gets filtered out to Traxo, that helps us be able to then reconcile and get the rates.
Mm-hmm.
And we can go back to our partners and say, look, we had to book the membership rate because we don't use our client number, and then that will help us talk to our clients as well. I probably just
yes, that is an option.
Yeah.
In fact, that's one of the things that one of the analyses, is that the plural of analysis? One of the analyses that Michelle has been doing with Matt. She mentioned earlier about how she's driving Matt crazy on doing some data analytics. But it is, okay, so our employees are not booking, through our program, getting our rates. What rates are they getting when they're booking direct? And are they greater? Are they less? Are they, the same? The results can vary, obviously by organization, where you book, the time of year, the chain, but it is an interesting analysis to be able to make that you couldn't make before until after the fact, right? So that's the difference between utilizing the Traxo data now, real time, versus reconciliation, after the fact. Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
No, so to add to that, I think if your preferred or negotiated rates are loaded with your preferreds, and your traveler has the ability, because what we've found, and probably most travel managers would find this, is that our travelers are booking, we have like 80% leakage in our hotel program. And so that is because they are getting lower rates. They are getting lower rates outside of your travel program. And that is because of membership. And if they're not getting lower rate, it's not that much higher, and they're getting all these added benefits. So back to Suze's kind of traveler friction, the cost of a transaction fee versus allowing, if it's a break even, it's a win-win. And to your point, you're getting all this data anyway, and you can be looking at that as regularly as you want or need to, weekly, daily, monthly, quarterly, and really analyze that, and get a grasp on that early. You don't have to wait till the end of a year to assess what's happening in your program, right? It's all real time. You can look at it every day if you want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, to the point that I made earlier, this is not a one size fits all. I mean, right. Everybody is running their program depending on what's best for their program, which is why we wanted to bring the three of you and give, different, viewpoints on how you would run a program. Obviously, we've picked a good topic because we have a ton of questions we're not going to have time to get to. I would like to encourage you in the audience to check out resources.traxo.com to view the past webinars, find out what kind of topics we've had in the past, what might be relevant for the future, and let us know. We'd love to hear from you as to what you'd like to see in future webinars. So in closing, it's important for us here at Traxo to mention that we're not or that we are completely agnostic as to where your organization falls on the program compliance booking range. One thing we've noticed, and we are confident you agree based on what our panelists today have shared, is that no matter whether you heavily mandate or don't have a managed program at all, odds are very high you still have an omni-channel program. You give it the name leakage, open booking, or off-channel, for most of you, it's happening today. In fact, if I could make a cheesy bumper sticker, it would say something along the lines of, like it or not, omni-channel happens. And though I've not quite convinced our marketing team to create that bumper sticker just yet, fear not, because in the meantime, we've published a free ebook on how best to create an omni-channel strategy for your program that you can find at resources.traxo.com, or simply remain online until the end of the webinar and you'll receive instant access to your copy of the ebook. The point is that regardless of whether you view omnichannel as outside your managed program or just opening your program, being able to track your traveler bookings across all channels before the trip happens is imperative, and Traxo can ensure you are able to do just that. To find out how you can deploy our service for free, with no obligations and for a personal tour of how Traxo can help your organization with holistic insights into all of your corporate traveler booking data, please visit us and schedule a demo at www.traxo.com. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, audience. Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, everything that's happening at this year. Happy holidays to everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.